for Eswatini.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sanzo Mulaza. I'm with the Communications Department at RSTP. Can we please start our program for this evening so that we can probably go back home earlier since it's cold today. We want to be home early. But before we start, maybe if you may, ladies and gentlemen, come forward so that those who are unfortunate not to make it on time can get space at the back and not disrupt or disturb you as you concentrate to this wonderful presentation that you get from our speaker. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to the Royal Science and Technology Park at the Innovation Center for this month's edition of our monthly Startup Prime. My name is Sanzo Malaza, and my role this evening is to give you just a brief overview of the Royal Science and Technology Park. This is a parastatal which is mandated mainly to provide an enabling environment for the development of science and technology in the country. Our vision as RSTP is to be the leading oasis of science and innovative technologies for wealth creation in the country. We aim to ensure that by the year 2022, the country will be renowned internationally for her swiftness in exploring science, technology, and innovation as a means to increase the country's economic growth and increase capacity by developing a knowledge-based economy and infrastructure, thus alleviating poverty as the country aspires to attain its Vision 2022 of being amongst the first world countries. The Royal Science and Technology Park is made up of two parks. There's the Biotechnology Park, which is some 8 to 10 kilometers from where we're at. It's at Nogwan, on the way, or past Namport, or on the way to South. The Biotechnology Park, as you may see, is still being developed, and one of the construction or buildings that are being constructed for now is our service center. As I said, it's located at Nogwan, and it is strategically located because it is, as you all know, it is so close to Matsapa industrial area, and it is so close to the dry port and all other things that may be needed by an investor, be it a local or foreign investor, particularly in the area, for those who are in the area of export. Then there's the Innovation Park, which is this side, Port Wayne. The Innovation Park is a huge project, but what we have for now is the IT center, which is that small corner, as you may see to my right, well, to my left, sorry. I'm not good with that right, so it's the same as with colors. So I won't try to explain it in terms of colors, but I guess you can see where the IT center is, which is this building that we're in. And then one of the businesses or business units that are housed at the Innovation Park or at the IT center is the business incubator, IT business incubator. The main purpose of this business unit is to assist innovative ICT startups, create jobs, diversify ICT industry, thus generating wealth. Types of businesses that get to be incubated here, are businesses that are in computer technologies, mobile phone technologies, and electronics. What do we offer in terms of services as the IT business incubator? We offer office space and other amenities, which include business advice, monitoring, and introduction to customers. Because we believe as the incubator we have a huge network which may also extend to customers. We also offer business advice, mentoring and introduction, and training for our incubators. As I said, we have networks which we can always expose you to or if you've been incubated as a startup, the IT business incubator. We also support with fundraising, as we don't provide you with funding, but then as you fundraise, through our networks, we can assist and support you as you fundraise. Then how do you get to be incubated? Our process includes a pre-application stage, which will then lead you to making a presentation to our selection committee, which is made up of people who are established business people and are experts in different sectors, be it in the legal or financial sector. So we do interact, or our selection committee is made up of those people, as you may see, and it is headed by our CEO. Then we do have a couple of, we do have companies that are already incubated. We do have startups, one of which is a company called Code IT, and they are into digital advertising application. That's what they are developing. And we also have UMO, another startup. We have 4 companies, if I'm not mistaken, currently. And then some of them, as you may see, are groups, others are individuals. So it shows that you really don't have to be a huge group or in a certain number of people. You may be an individual or a group for you to be incubated at the IT business incubator. And these are our contact details if you really need to get more information about the IT business incubator. And if you want to register on time for the next startup guide, these are the contact details that you may use. And for those of us who are always on the run or on the go, we do have a mobile number to use. You can send SMS or a WhatsApp message, or you can even call on that very same mobile number. And you have other web-based contact details. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my brief overview of RSTP and the business incubator in particular. I think we are now ready for our main speaker, or the guest speaker for this evening. I'll now hand over to my colleague Sabensiwe Mkhwanazi to introduce our speaker this evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sabensiwe Mkhwanazi. I work for the Business Incubator. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you again for joining us for the Startup Grind tonight. Many businesses always ask us, many startups always ask us when they come here as to how they find money to start their businesses. Well, there is no magic in finding money for starting your business, and there is no one who's going to throw money at you just because you've got this new and exciting idea. However, there are many funding opportunities which are available. And these funding opportunities always come with requirements, which Mr. Mazia is going to share with us tonight. Mr. Mazia is the CEO and fund manager at Youth Enterprise Fund. He's also formerly worked for Swazi Bank as the agribusiness manager. You can see how much wealth of knowledge he has in the funding sector. And we believe that he appreciates and has knowledge, too much knowledge for tonight's topic, which is what it takes to get funding from banks and other non-financial opportunities. From banks and other non-financial banks, from banks and other non-bank institutions. Sorry, I'm so nervous. That's my first time, but with time I'll learn. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Mazia.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, madam. It's work in progress. As already introduced, my name is Belizwe Mazia. I come from Youth Enterprise Fund. However, I must quickly mention that I'm 2 months old at Youth Enterprise Fund. I have all along been working for Swazi Bank as the agribusiness manager, whereas I had spent the better part of my youth, where I spent 12 years at Swazi Bank, starting from an officer level, involved in the loans departments, and I rose through the ranks of the bank until I got to be the agribusiness manager, which was my last position at the bank. Now, coming from Youth Enterprise Fund, I have found the Real Science and Technology Park, this program is very relevant to us as Youth Enterprise Fund, not only because it is dealing with a number of youth entrepreneurs, but simply because it is talking to the incubation of entrepreneurs. One of our main experiences from the banking perspective has been that SMEs generally in the country are struggling. They are struggling not because the SME sector has got challenges. They are struggling because of the inadequate support through incubation, through mentorship, through training. So then we find the Real Science and Technology Park as an answer, as a solution to SME empowerment generally. So I hope the way we have structured this presentation is going to be helpful to most of us. And if there are elements that are found inadequate from our presentation, then it is only because we've been given limited time, so we couldn't throw in everything into the slides. But you can ask questions, we will be in a position to answer a number of them. Now, getting to one of my slides is missing here. So what did you do to my slides? Okay, basically the first slide was the overview, the outline, showing the topics we are going to cover. But I know technology has its way of working against you. Otherwise, then we thought if we could share with everyone the main difference between banks and non-banks financial institutions. This is very important on its own, so that we know where to get the kind of funding that you need for your own type of business. Banks, we know, in their nature, they are risk averse. When we say they are risk averse, we mean any application that is submitted to the bank, you try to look at the risky areas that will make you not finance. While on the other hand, non-bank financial institutions are risk tolerant. They are more keen to see how you can get financial assistance, as opposed to why should you not finance. In nature, generally, you approach a commercial bank. When you submit an application, it's find reasons why you can't finance, because there is a risk. So when you can't find the reason why you can't finance, then you have to finance. That's the approach here, the commercial banking. Can see on the other hand, the non-financial banks, they are more tolerant to risk. That is why the evaluation models that are used by banks are more stronger. The evaluation tools, they take out a lot of these risky elements, such that it's in a the application was IC or viable. Yet on the other hand, the non-bank financial institutions, they have weaker loan evaluation models. That is why even businesses that are on the borderline may find themselves being successful with the non-bank finance institutions, yet they may not get through with the banks. Now, why is this so? It is because banks, in their nature, they take deposits from customers. The money from the CBN is the same money that banks use for lending. So now, banks have the duty to protect those deposits. Lend to businesses that would end up not bringing back the money. Imagine depositing your money with the bank, putting the lands after 3 months. When you come after 3 months, you pay lands, somebody owns 76 so you check it next week. How would you feel? So banks have that obligation to ensure your money is available anytime you want it. So that is why when banks lend, they must really scrutinize so that they lend to businesses that are going to bring back the money, so that the depositors, the owners of that money, I can't equal. Now, banks have a lengthy turnaround time. Now, I challenge you that we must acknowledge when as the ICTs are scrutinized but end up taking too long to approve the loan because of our lengthy processes. Yet, among non-bank financial institutions, some of us would acknowledge that when you go to these non-bank financial institutions, in a day or two, you don't wait for the decisions they said. But it's difficult to find that with banks. SMEs, they are usually seriously affected by this because social opportunities of our business. If answers is appraised, yet you opportunity. So that is why it is important to know when you have the opportunity, let time bound and especially scarcity. So do consider because their turnaround time is usually short. Banks in their nature have less appetite for startups. Why? Because we say they are risky. while the non-bank financial institutions have a bigger appetite for startups. What I was saying here, especially those that will be in the incubation, science and technology. Lama proposals sisafolisha under the startup. Perceive as highly realistic because they have not been tried and tested. So banks would want to see a lot of balances and checks before they can say you can get the money. See, that is why we find ourselves moving from pillar to post solo to money. It is because the nature of startup is in the eye of the bank. Yet the non-banks, they do take that risk as long as there is potential, the business is viable. Then the II has a level of stable finance and other successful summer business. They also, banks also have a lesser appetite for long-term lending. Where does this come from? It comes from that these are depositors' money. Now, among depositors, they don't usually keep money for longer periods at bank. And when you keep your money 3 months, 6 months, and most 12 months. So now, among developmental projects, they are long-term in their nature. So adding a longer term repayment period, which is not usually offered by the banks. Because as soon as depositors funds are short-term in nature. Akasufi igenza nakafika zatofuna le mali sithi usengakabhadali ngoba isengakapheli i-term yakhe yokubhadalela akayikhanzi ikhona. So now if as a bank you finance many long-term projects, you then run into cash flow or liquidity challenges because it would mean most of the money that we put in here back. Now, nasebafika labantu withdraw bakhanze sekude. So kuyindlela yokumanage the liquidity emabhange. But yet non-bank financial institutions, they don't take deposits. So their funds are not from depositors and they are usually longer term in nature. So that is why if you have a project that is long term in its nature, consider kusebenzisa non-bank financial institutions who are going to offer you a longer period, not unless it is a situation like uthenga khona property. That's the only time banks will be very happy to finance you on a longer term because there's the security element of property. Commercial in its nature, non-banks, they are developmental in nature. So SMEs in most cases they fall under the development finance. So they get more favorable with the non-bank finance institutions as opposed to the bank. Now, banks have a high liquidity because of the deposits that yet among non-banks, liquidity is usually low. Hence, imali bank is cheaper than imali non-bank finance institution. This is one of the things these banks are watch in simple SMEs. See, good na the notion na come back. It's not interested to leave. But the true sense of it is banks' funds are cheaper than the non-banks' funds. So if you are project Yako is highly sensitive to interest rates, do consider approaching the bank who's going to offer a much lower interest rate than in non-bank. Yes, banks do emphasize a lot to collateral, while non-banks don't emphasize on that. And banks offer a variety of products. This is also very important because when you are an SME, commercial business person, it is good to have to be banking with a financial institution that is going to offer you other banking products that are complementary business here. Later on, I would say, as a le mali yokuqala lebhizinisi. Ibe khona ne-window yokuthi if the event sekune-immediate need yemali u-addressa a certain challenge, ukhona ukuthola i-overdraft facility with the same financer. It's easy for me as a bank, the financial business is not saying i-overdraft facility. In finance because I know the entire business. Then goes if finance somewhere else the business so come back in so that it's an immediate needs of the overdraft. It's difficult to get the facility they say agent nyalo because I'm here the business is performance. I'm here to see bangabo. So when you start a business, identify the bang lotawufuna ukuthi usebenze nalo lotawuthi noma sofuna kuboleka wati ukuthi ngiyela lelitawuphinza lemboleka because nale business yami ibhanga khona. Sinema SMEs mhlambe let me get to that one later in the stages of the presentation here. What I want to touch most nyalo ukuthi what do financiers usually require when they evaluate the application yakho? One, they want a business plan, then a cash flow projection. No financer will finance you without a business plan and a cash flow projection because it is what is guiding me as a bank was in the intentions and objectives of the business. And when we talk about a business plan, many business people, they go to a consultant. Because pass a business plan. I go to my consultants. That come up business plan. It's their business, but that will pay them. But the business plan, what they do, they specialize in developing business plans. Without now the construction, okay, for the intent, pay fine. There's somebody who was doing construction business. We all 8 the time. So now they are coming use we are 8, okay, like a 3, Shinja for 8. That's all they do. And they want to prepare the business plan in the shortest time possible. In a day or two, they are going to give you a business plan. Now, if you don't know what is contained in the business plan, you're going to take it to the finance of my business plan. Now, when we read the business plan, there are a lot of things that think are consistent with what you told us you want to do. So, see, I told us here, how? And you see that with the Marcelos, the units are for 8. But the upper is kind of also Unema Caport Lang 2. And I might not have power. I don't for you don't know what is in the business plan. So it is important when we talk a business plan. Now, RSTP, how do you prepare a business plan? Something like that we have to run so that anybody who asks you about what is contained in the business plan, it's painful. So, no finance also the business already. The business must be viable and be feasible. When you talk about viability, only we are referring to is does the business has capacity to repay the money that we are calling. If viability it means that it will need a profit there. We cannot finance a business that will borderline, no matter now. They combat the capacity of the that's what I purely profit. Because it's a business. So we do want to see the viability in our borderline. Because once you have a borderline, it means when you get my interest rates, it's negative. When you get my prices, I don't know, my inputs are. It means something is negative is going to happen to you. So the margin, if never even positive, feasibility is usually not emphasized in most cases. Yet there is a need to emphasize on feasibility. When we talk about feasibility, the other business, we experienced here too. We once financed a project. Other farmers in the community, they brought a project proposal. They wanted to do a piggery project, a big piggery project. Via the finance, where assets, it was viable because it was with the bigger economies of scale, support and other donors. So the funding that was required from the financer, very money. So a bigger portion of the investment they finance it. So this financer finances this project, the infrastructure. Now, when it was time to they bought the stock, the bigger stock, I am a quarantine after the period, quarantine feed has been bought, everything has been bought. When it was time to take the pigs to the church, the community members, Alianza, stopped the project, but you can't do a piggery project here. And it was found that the community very Alianza, now the project was not feasible. So I get the other feasibility start that you are so feasibility. You look at all other. I'm picking this example. There are many other elements that one consider for feasibility with the project. Another example is our, maybe let me not use this example, market availability and sustainability. You finance, also done a business with finance. It is very important. It is very important that you prove that there is market for the service or the produce that you are going to be producing. You shouldn't just assume that nobody doesn't eat chicken. So the whole community eats chicken, so I'm going to start a poultry project because everybody eats chicken. And you come to the financer and say you want to be financed. The loan may not be successful because there is no evidence or proof that some people are going to buy your produce. When we talk about market availability, we are referring to a situation where you have engaged your potential markets about your intended business, what you will be supplying, and they confirm in writing that yes, you can supply us, we do require that kind of service, and this is the quality that we want, and this is the price that we offer for that particular produce or for that particular service. That is the same price you are going to use in your cash flow projection. You don't just say, no, I'm going to be providing my IT service at 50,000 Magame. You don't assume. You base it from a realistic figure. So these are the things we look at as financiers when we assess viability and sustainability of the business. Okay, sustainability is also further to the availability of the market. The market may be available, but may not be sustainable. So when we are saying market is sustainable, we are saying the person you are going to be providing the service to must be a business that has capacity or that will be in existence for a longer period. You should not tell us that you are going to be providing an IT solution and your market is this office that has just opened 2 weeks ago, so you'll be providing service to that office. And when you look at the capacity of that office, it shows that it can close even in 6 months' time. But you want a loan from the bank that will be repaid in 12 months' time at the least. So that market is not sustainable. So when we are talking to companies that you want to provide your service to, do look at the sustainability of those companies you want to supply so that their existence is guaranteed. Availability of technical expertise. This is another very particular area. Most of you here, maybe I would assume, are doing IT-related businesses. Well, some may not be. But now, if you are developing a certain product or a certain IT solution, you must show that you do have expertise to develop that product and also support that IT solution to the businesses you are supplying it to. So if you only downloaded it from internet and then come to the finance and say, I want to do this, provide this service, without the expertise to do it, no financer can buy your store. So make sure you are venturing into a business that you either have that expertise or you have access to expertise. Access to expertise could be you are going to employ the expert who's going to be providing the technical service, or you have a mentor, or most importantly, a mentor who's going to be hand-holding you throughout that project. So if there is no technical expertise, the project is most likely not to be successful. Business acumen is another important area that we look at. You must show to have business acumen in order to be in a position to run a business. Creditworthiness. Most businesses or most business promoters fail to get loans, or their proposals would fail if there is no creditworthy, if the project promoter is not creditworthy. When we talk about creditworthiness, it's the history, your banking history. We are not here only saying you must show to have banked with many banks, or you must prove it, you have an account with a bank that has been there for a year or 2 years. It is how you handle your debts. We check you with the credit bureaus, whether you do repay your credits. It is not only those that you take with banks, those that you also make with the retail shops, your jets, your cars. If we check and find that you never paid a certain rate, you are guaranteed not to get a loan from a bank, because it means you don't pay your debts. So this one is where you don't pay. So make sure when you want to apply for a loan from a bank, you check yourself that you are. Okay, now these ones I have colored them in a different color as opposed to the first ones above. Risk mitigation measures. When you want to strengthen your business case, make sure you also show how you are going to mitigate risk elements that accompany this project. Your own contribution. When you show what you are going to be contributing to your business, it indicates your faith in the business, your commitment to the business, so that the next person can also have faith in your business. If you have been able to commit so much to your project, it means somebody else can also invest into your project. But if you are saying you want to start a project and 100% of the investment is going to come from somebody else and we are not contributing anything to it, it gives some doubts whether you do believe in the project or not. So to also contribute yourself, it gives you an edge above others. Businesses are encouraged to also have bank accounts so that we know the business is going to bank the funds. The reason these ones are in green is because they are not likely to make you fail to get a loan. But these ones that are in red, believe me, you lack one of them, chances to get a loan are very high. Those that would be applying as companies, make sure you have your companies registered fully and you bring your registration documents. That includes your form certificate of incorporation, memorandum and articles of association, your form J, and all the likes, all documents that are company documents. As long as you have said you are applying as company so and so. But if you are applying as an individual, these documents will not be required. So we must separate those two. Okay, now then I said my approach should also talk about why would a proposal fail with a financer. Now, if your business plan is poor, or rather the promoter does not understand the business plan, your business is likely to fail with a banker. If the business is not viable or it's not feasible, it is not likely to pass with a bank. So let us make sure our businesses, our business plans are viable. You check the viability. Unfortunately, in my experience in banking, I have never received a business plan that has come showing non-viability. But when you assess the business plan itself, we are going to identify elements of non-viability. I don't know how these consultants who develop business plans, how they make them. Because they all come positive, but when you analyze and put realistic figures, you find that the business is not viable. What do we do as financiers? We are going to come having plugged in figures on your cash flow projection, but we do verify those figures. For instance, if somebody is in a construction business, I would just assume we have companies or business people who are into construction here. If you assume a bag of cement is going to cost you 50 MLM, those are the figures you have plugged into your cash flow projection. All we do, we check with the local suppliers. How much is a bag of cement? 80 MLM. Then we plug in 80 MLM. The business comes out negative because you have assumed on lower cost. Similarly, if on the supply side, you have assumed selling prices, a higher selling price compared to the going price locally. We check with those suppliers what is the price for this? What is the price for? They give us the price. Those are the figures we plug into our own assessment, and that is when the business viability changes. So when we say the business is not viable, it will be based on the realistic figures that we know to be existing on the ground, as opposed to those that have been submitted with the business plan. Lack of poor market research. Let us spend time to research on market for our businesses. Let us invest on market research. Let us not assume, so that we get sustainable markets and we are sure of what we are talking about. Lack of poor business acumen. By business acumen here, as we sit down and discuss with you, yes, we have gone through your business proposal, but now we would need you to come sit down here. Then we ask you questions about your business, about what is contained in your business plan. But if we we don't feel the ownership, if we don't feel the business acumen in your responses, then we see that you will not be in a position to run this kind of a business. Yes, the business proposal that you have submitted is positive, but you do not have capacity to run this business. Then the business will fail, the business proposal will fail. Technical expertise, likewise, experience and monitoring alike. If these are not present in your proposal, the banks are not likely to approve your application. Because what is important to it, banks are not excited to finance businesses even if you have adequate security in the event the business is not successful. Banks are not excited to finance if a business shows elements of inadequacy, especially in management, in technical expertise. So we do need to strengthen this case. That is why we then say service providers who are going to be providing mentorship and incubation add a lot of value to our businesses, especially us SMEs, because we lack in experience to run businesses. If the business is found as a high risk with inadequate mitigation measures, we are not likely to approve that loan, because it means it won't be able to repay that loan. So we must provide some mitigation measures to any risk. Then the poor credit worthiness. If you don't pay your loans, I'm not going to give you my loan because you don't pay other loans. Now, this one is very rare to hear from financiers, but you hear it from me today. Sometimes your business proposal will fail because I didn't understand your business. Not because your business is not viable or it doesn't make sense, but because I failed to understand your business. So it is important to also, as you engage your financer, do get the feel if he understands your business. And if you realize that he doesn't understand your business, take your proposal to the next financer, someone who's going to understand your business. Because sometimes it could be that it is a new area that I've never dealt with in my experience as a banker. Especially now as we go into IT-related businesses. A lot of us bankers do not understand. So a wise banker is one who's going to take time to understand your business and then be in a position to finance. So, and an unwise one is simply going to tell you this is not viable, then it's not going to finance. So do get that one if your business banker does understand your business. Then now, I thought I should then discuss with you why most businesses that have been financed would then fail. Now this is different from the previous one. The previous one was the proposal. What would make a proposal fail? But this is assuming the business proposal has been successful and it has been financed by the financer, but the business could not be successful. Overcapitalization, mainly on fixed assets, would fail a business. When mainly it would be when the business banker could not understand the needs of your project and allowed to finance your business beyond its capacity to drive or its capacity to produce. Then you find that most of the capital outlay is onto the fixed assets. Yet the business does not have enough capacity to produce or to provide income from its operations, it will fail to repay its loans. Insufficient funding. This is the opposite of this one. A business will fail because you came to me and I said, you want 2.5 million? No, this is risky. And 2.5 million for a start. No, let's start at 1.5 million. I want to give you 1.5 million. But the business to start requires 2.5 million. So now if you agree that I reduce the funding to 1.5 million without adjusting the costs of establishment, this is going to kill your business. So now, I would understand a banker who's going to say to you, okay, the bank is not likely to finance this business with such a huge capital outlay, which is a startup. Rather, because yes, the business does make sense, let us start smaller. Cut out this operation, cut out this operation, so that what remains would then require a lesser capital outlay. And it should still remain viable despite having reduced the scale of the business. So that is the kind of reduction I would support from a banker's side. But one who is simply going to reduce the cost without reducing who's going to reduce the fund without reducing the cost of establishment is simply killing the business straight away. So the business would be inadequately financed. Now, if the business lacks technical expertise or the business owner lacks experience, the business is likely to fail. One can take an example. You pardon me if I'm assuming most of these business people are in IT-related businesses. So that is why I keep referring to examples that are IT-related. But what I want to allude to here is if you brought a business proposal that is IT-related and you are the main driver, you are the person with the vision, you are the same person with the technical know-how of the business. The business gets approved, it starts, say you were two directors in the business desk, then along the line you fight and the person with the main expertise leaves the business and leaves the other partner with the business who doesn't know how this business is supposed to go about, the business will fail. So we have experienced that a lot with partnership. Sometimes they will come here, you will think they all know about the business, and you realize once one partner leaves that this was the person with the idea, and the entire business collapses. So that is why it is important to keep the technical expertise within the operations of the business. Poor management. This is a very rife sickness with SMEs in particular. People mismanage the projects, they mismanage the funds, and businesses collapse. They divert funds from the business, they start bringing in relatives, now I have a bigger company, they bring all the family members into the business and they run the business down. So, which is poor corporate governance. Corporate governance doesn't allow that. Record keeping is another factor which has failed a lot of businesses. If you don't keep records, there's no way you will see when your business is not performing. There's no way you will see when your income has begun to take a nosedive. But your records are going to give you an indicator that something is wrong. where am I using it? Then you start correcting it in good time. So it is very important to keep record. Fast diversion. This is mostly common again with SMEs and farmers. Our experiences has been an SME comes to a bank, he has run a tender for 2 million to supply state government with certain material. Now, the tender, to supply the tender, the person wants the total funding of, say, 1.5 million. Tender is good, and it's easy to supply. You find this lucrative deal, you finance as a financer. But when he gets paid, since you won't know as a financer when he got paid, the business person will know that before you know it. Immediately the funds are credited into the account, then the SME will start thinking, my other colleagues are driving an X5 and I'm driving simply sedan BMW. Now it's my time to show off. He's going to buy an X5. Or even better, an X6. So he has found somebody willing to sell to him an X6 for 1.6 million. Buys the X6. He has not paid the bank. Now, what do you think is going to happen to the law? It's going to run into areas, and when you start following, the excuses that you get would be government has still not paid. You know government takes time to pay. Government has still not paid. When we follow until we get to government, we are going to be given documents proving that this business person was paid a month ago. So this is very rife with SMEs. Now the next thing, the person doesn't want to answer a call from the bank. He's going to another bank whenever he gets another tender. So that's the life of SMEs. So I would really urge SMEs to remain faithful whenever you have acquired a loan from a bank. Make sure you prioritize on payment, because that's the same reason why banks then start tightening the requirements. They start tightening other loan conditions. It's because of the experiences that they have with business people. Non-adherence to the business plan. Most of us develop a business plan because the bank wants a business plan, not because this is how we are going to run our businesses. We only develop the business plans because we want to submit to the bank. Now, when you start, once you get the money, you start doing different things from what we are. Because when you submit a business plan with the bank, we sit down, we look at the business plan, we find it viable, then we agree, okay, you are going to do this. When you get to this stage, you are going to do this. When you get to this stage, this is what you are going to do. This is what the business plan says. But now once you start diverting from the business plan, it is no longer the plan that we approve as a plan. So the business is likely to fail because what you are doing now was not pre-planned before. And you never assessed the risk involved with the new plan that you have taken later on. Succession plan is another cause for business failure. This is a common problem with Swazi businesses. Once the main business promoter passes on, that's the end of the business. That is our experience with Swazi businesses. I don't know why we do not involve other people to take over the business. People who are also going to start learning or how to conduct the business with you while you are still there, so that they are easy to take over when you pass on. Such that as banks, we are left with debts that are not repaid. Yet the business is still operating, but it is no longer performing because the people who are left with the business now do not have the know-how. So that is why we then emphasize on the mentorships and the incubation for SMEs in particular, so that even if you are not there, we believe the mentors are going to assist us to run the business until the banks loan are fully repaid. Yeah, groups are sometimes difficult to manage. People who organize themselves as companies or cooperatives usually experience cohesion problems. The infightings, they affect the businesses. And once you start fighting amongst yourselves as directors of the company is bound to fail. We have seen a lot of bigger companies, locals, who were successful, but they closed shop mainly because the directors of the company later in the life of the business don't see eye to eye, and they separated, or rather their disputes affected the business. So it is a serious challenge. So when you are starting a business as a company, make sure you identify partners who have the same vision as you. Not only partners you have acquaintance with or you have known for a long time, but a partner who shares the same vision as you, who's going to take your dream or your vision further, even after some time. We don't insure our businesses as SMEs. I don't know why. And when trouble comes, we don't have any pillar to hold on to. So let us start considering insurance for our businesses for the unlikely events which was not anticipated. Business location is also very critical. Let us make sure that our businesses are located at convenient areas to make them thrive. If one would say you want to open an IT shop at Matange, you will be providing IT solutions. What do you expect? You expect the people working in the factories to support the IT shop. You are opening an internet cafe at Matange. So your location, do make your research so that you locate your business where it is most relevant for it to thrive. I know people are getting tired, but this is our last slide where I thought, can we look at possible interventions that we can consider to make our businesses more sustainable? Capacity building and constant monitoring, including the incubation programs, are one of the key elements we should consider. Here at RSTP, it's one of the incubation centers which we find as financiers very critical to ensure us as business people we are supported in many other means, be it continuous capacity building, business management services, and any other programs that would be required by our businesses, so that our businesses remain sustainable. Availability of technical expertise. If we do not have expertise to run a certain business, let us rather import that expertise to make sure the business remains a going concern. Because without that, businesses are most likely to fail. Now, our business plans that we develop, they must be sustainable. Let us not develop business plans just to get a loan, but let us develop business plans that we are going to use to run the business going forward. As a guide, I always say a business plan should be the Bible of your business. It should be a document that you are going to refer to anytime you encounter a new situation. Anytime you want to take another step of your business, refer to your business plan. What did we say we wanted to do at the beginning, so that you remain focused? Yes, this one is saying let us use the business plan to drive our businesses, not to get lost. Now on value chains, my view now is when you start or rather when you want to start a business, can we consider the entire value chain of the business you want to do? By value chain assessment, we are referring to, if we can take an example of, I'm not sure if there is anyone who's interested in farming or rather who's involved in farming. But by value chain, if I make that example, let us ask you in a livestock business, somebody wants to do a feedlot project. When you want to venture into the business, the first thing you need to consider is who is going to be my market. That should be the first point of reference. Now, once you get the market, somebody who's going to buy your livestock, at what price, and how does he want that livestock to be supplied. Some markets would want carcasses, dressed carcasses. Some would want live animals. So it is important to start with the market so that you know what would be involved in your business process. So now in the event your market wants dressed carcasses, the next step should be, where am I going to process those carcasses? Because I cannot I cannot kill animals at my home, dress them and take them to market, when I need to deliver 10 dressed carcasses to the market. So you need an abattoir. Who is the nearest abattoir that I can use? You don't only say, oh, there's an abattoir at Store. You go there, you engage the owners of the abattoir. How do you, what is your capacity? How do you want me to supply you if I want you to dress my live animals and prepare them for the market, so that you know what would be the requirement, as well as the capacity is very important. What are your costs? So that you feed it into your business plan. You also go to your feed suppliers. Who are the feed suppliers? You go to them, at what price are they selling feed for my livestock? From there, you go to the source, someone who's going to provide you with the stock to feed into your feedlot. Because you cannot say you go to the sources usually say, the tents, they sell cattle every day. I'm going to go to the big tents to get livestock. You cannot run your business like that. So you need to have a constant supply who's going to be supplying either with the heifers or the steers, and at what price, at what age are they selling it to me. So because that informs how long is that animals going to stay in the feedlot before they mature to be taken to. You are assessing the value chain by so doing. So now your business plan should have involved all the steps that are necessary in order for you to make a sustainable. So I'm making that example so that We can use it even to other businesses. But do take into consideration all the role players, all the steps that are involved in your own business. When you present it to the bank, it must have the complete value chain. Then that is when we are going to say there is less risk because the entire value chain has been considered. Now to SMEs, we want to say, let us now consider whenever we do a business, let us consider adding value, in particular for export considerations. If we were to assume that each and everyone inside the room coming to the bank, applying for loans, and everyone's loan is approved by the bank, what do you think can happen? We are all going to run businesses. Some of us will be running the same business. What do you think is going to happen to our businesses? All of us who have been able, who have been successful to get the loans, we start the business. Swaziland has got 1.2 million population, and not everyone amongst the population has a buying capacity. So it means our buying power is minimized. The more we all compete for the same customers, it means our businesses are going to choke. So now let us expand the buying power then by exporting. Other countries need those services. Other countries need those products. So and stop competing for the very big the population that has buying power for our businesses. So now these exports, they don't usually provide premium prices if you do not add value. And sometimes it does not make economic sense to export for that price because of the cost of exports that are involved. So let us, whenever we think about businesses, let us think outside the box because our population is not increasing significantly. Now, again, a lot of business people, they compete a lot as opposed to collaboration. So my advice, therefore, to small business people is, if somebody is producing blocks of cement, why don't I then think of producing cement? Because you would need cement to produce the blocks of cement. Then somebody should think of supplying river sand. We are collaborating, we are complementing each other, as opposed to starting my own block yard next to it. What do you think is going to happen to the value chain? So now our approach should be, when you get to an area wanting to start a business, look around and don't look at what people are doing and want to do it. Look at what can I do to complement these businesses. What is it that they are not doing that I can do so that we expand the buying power. We don't concentrate it to one people and increase competition in the same process. So now our experience has been small enterprises, they want to do something because they've seen somebody doing it and doing it right next to it. Then we all lose at the end of the day. Technology is here and it is here to stay. Now, if we don't embrace technology in our businesses, we are going to run out of businesses. So let us embrace technology in our businesses. It is now the way to go. If you are not considering posting your business in the intranet, developing websites where you are going to expose yourselves to many potential buyers, then you are limiting yourself. So let us consider technology in our businesses. One of the challenges that we have as a country is the non-involvement of youth in our businesses. Youth is not involved in our businesses because we still work in the same old ways of doing things. And it is usually labor intensive, and they don't want that. So now let us consider introducing technology, because that is what they are best at and they enjoy doing, and they are going to add value to our businesses if we call that true. Now, let us have clear succession plans in our businesses and fallback plans. Most of our businesses do not have succession plans. That is why when that time comes, they collapse. We also do not have fallback plans. In the most unlikely event, you must have plan B. That is how white people defeat us in businesses. White people, when they plan, they also have a plan B right at the beginning. But we look for plan B when we have hit a dead end. And that is when we start thinking about plan B. And at that time it is already too late. Now, this is a very controversial issue, adoption of savings culture in our way of doing businesses. When we make money in our businesses, the first thing that comes into our mind is how are we going to spend this money? Because we have worked, so we must now spend. And forget that there is a tomorrow, and tomorrow we may not have this money. So let us learn to save money for the future that is unknown to us. When we save money from weekly income that we make from our businesses, we are also putting ourselves in a better position for our businesses to be sustainable. It has always troubled me to see an SME who is an old client of the bank. For the past 15 years, he has been an SME. And every year, the entrepreneur is going to come to the bank for an overdraft, doing one and the same business. Every year, and the amount of loan that he or she would want to keep on increasing every year. Now you ask yourself, when is this person ever going to be sustainable? Because we know banks' money are expensive. If you are using a bank's loan, you are going to repay it with interest. But if you use your own funds to expand your business or to run your business, you are saving yourself from the extra cost of banking funds and interest charges. But because we want to eat all the money that we make from the business, we are going to remain indebted to the banks. And when we die, we are going to leave debts with the bank, which our children are going to inherit. So now, but we tell ourselves we've been business people for 20 years. So let us change our culture and adopt the savings culture, so that when you want to diversify, when you want to expand, you use your own funds that are in the bank and minimize on the bank loans. And lastly, mine now, I am now wearing my cap as an advocate for the youth. That let us, as we do businesses, let us, maybe this one is for government's consideration and those in policy influencing positions. That it has always troubled me again to see always when there is a company issuing a tender for a certain service, or rather government issuing a tender to be supplied by a certain service, it is open to everyone. The SMEs, the youth, they all compete with the giant corporate companies. And who do we? In most cases, it is the corporate companies. The SMEs will always get squashed. They will always get the smaller pieces. The youth will always get the micro pieces of the businesses. Why? Because we do not categorize our businesses into SME sector or youth oriented businesses. My vision is to see a situation where SMEs will compete amongst themselves and not compete with the bigger corporates, as well as the youth competing amongst themselves, not with the elder people who've been in business for many years. Let the giant companies competing amongst themselves. Then that is when we are going to see an improved economy of the country. That is when we are going to see empowerment of our SMEs and youth in Swaziland. And that is when we are going to address the problem of unemployment and poverty in Swaziland. This is how far we go. One last word of advice I wish to leave with you is, do not be discouraged. It is often the last key in the badge that opens the door. So when you have been pushed from pillar to post, wanting to start a business, wanting funds, do not be discouraged. Keep your dream alive. At the end of the day, you will be successful. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nazia. I believe the person who clapped hands before everyone else was not saying it's time he will leave the podium. He was just incited by the action that should display. That's why they say sometimes action speaks louder than words. Thank you so much, Brother Nazia. We have learned so much. I believe everyone here has benefited. Even the people that work with entrepreneurs as mentors, as coaches, as trainers, I believe that you have grasped something, because we do need the information from time to time on how the other institutions really work. So if you haven't worked for a bank, you never really understand how they get to the decisions they make. If you've never worked for a development finance institution or a non-bank financial institution, you also never understand why they value proposals differently from commercial banks. So we really, really appreciate, and I must say he's one of the CEOs who is able to, to go down to our level. And we really appreciate people like him. Naboba Babekabule, the bank, he spoke in one of the startup grinds we had, because they are seeing the youth as important stakeholders in our society. They are seeing the youth as people that have potential to start businesses that can be viable and sustainable as well. And we really appreciate your support towards such activities. It is time now to take questions. I think we can maybe spend 10 minutes on the Q&A. Thereafter we will have refreshments.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mazia, thanks for the presentation, sir. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on your appointment as fund manager for the Youth Fund. As a young person in business, we've been following the progress or developments as far as Youth Fund is concerned. And judging from what you've just said to us, your presentation, we are confident now that maybe we'll be seeing a further development of the fund, as we go on. Now, my question is, the fund hasn't been distributing funds for a while now, so I think you've had enough time with the fund now for you to know, or rather give us a hint on when we can expect notifications of you guys opening your doors for young people to show up and request your services. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Mazia, may I have more clarity on the cost of borrowing? Yes, you did mention that banks are usually more cheaper because of their liquidity. But I'm just wondering if we don't end up getting ourselves into hidden costs that we didn't know when we signed the offer letters and all the other papers. I've been made aware that some of the banks or the non-bank financial institutions prefer to pay on your behalf to your suppliers or whosoever want to pay. So I want to know if you don't debit my account with transactional cost as you pay on my behalf. Thanks.
Thank you, Baba Masia, for such an informative presentation. I'm interested in a list of non-bank financial institutions in the country. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mazia, for a great presentation. I would just like to ask in terms of how much is the Youth Fund and other banking institutions providing awareness for Swazis, especially the youth, in terms of finding out more about the services of the Youth Fund and how they can actually get the help that they may need to get incorporated into business. Thank you.
Maybe let's deal with this round of questions, and then after which Mr. Mazia will take another round. Maybe before you respond, somebody left their car keys at the reception. If you can't find your car keys, okay. Fortunately, someone has indicated. Over to you, Mr. Mazia.
Thank you, Robin Director, and thanks for the questions. The first one on Youth Fund. You are saying I've been here for long enough. Okay, maybe one can start by giving a brief background of the situation I found in office. Youth Fund has been not functional for the past 3 years, so there's not been any operation taking place, and with no employees in the office. So in the 2 months that are in the office. We are still trying to put together a strategy that is going to inform our direction, which is also going to inform our structure. Then we start recruitment. At the same time, we understand the pressure that we have from the expectation on the ground, where the youth has not been getting assistance from the youth fund. Government is also behind our back as well, wanting quick delivery. So that's the understanding we have to deliver as soon as possible. Our plan is to complete all these internal processes by December 2016, so that by at least January 2017, so that by January 2018 we start disbursement. That is our plan. If everything can go according to our plan, we would meet those targets. So then maybe if I can also touch on the second one, although it was the last question, that also touches on the youth fund. Yes, awareness, it couldn't be possible for youth fund to create awareness when it was defunct. So now, since I am here in office, and once we have the strategy, then that is when we are going to start creating the awareness. Because when you create awareness, you must also tell people what are the requirements, what are the logistics. Now you can't start creating the awareness when we are not going to answer those questions. So very soon we will be making that awareness, at least once we have the strategy in place. Now, the cost of borrowing from banks. An advice to business people would be, when you want to borrow funds for a business from the bank, one, do shop around the banks, do shop around the finance institution. People have a tendency to be advised by others. The only bank that is going to give you a loan for this business is banks A, because they gave me the loan. And the person is simply going to go to them and acquire a loan. And fortunately, you are going to get that loan. But if you deprive yourself the opportunity to shop around, you are also depriving yourself the opportunity to get better cost of funds from other finance institutions. So my response on that one would be, when you want a loan, do shop around the banks and inquire to those details. What is your interest rate? What are the involved or the accompanying finance charges that would accompany this type of loan that I want at this repayment period? So that is when you are going to get the exact cost of funding. So when you approach the second financer, you ask the same question. Then you compare and make your decision on your most convenient or cheapest financier. Yes, if we pay to your supplier, yes, obviously to debit your account, it will cost charges. So all charges that would accompany that payment would be debited from one's account. So that's the general banking principle. So for you, therefore, when you keep your records properly, every month end, require a statement from your bank, you check the transaction, which will include the transactional charges. So that you are aware if there is an inquiry or if there is a transaction charge that you do not understand, you approach your banker I've been debited by so much. What was happening here? Any of them I will explain to you. So my observation has been business people do not make their bankers their partners. If you make your business banker your partner, you'll be able to even call and ask, I've seen a debit on my account for so much, what has happened? Because you have a relationship with your business banker, he or she is going to give you information. That's over the phone, not necessarily having to drive to the bank. So let us have relationships with our banks. So, list of non-bank financial institutions in the country. I may not have all of them overhead, but I've got quite a number. I'm not sure if it will be with your permission. I mean, not sure if I'm allowed to mention other finance institutions here. But I know one of the biggest non-bank financial institutions involved in small and medium businesses is FinCo. It's one of them. We have your SITC, Southern Industrial Development Company. We also have the newly established NIDCS, National Investment Development Company, forgetting the S1 stands for. Those ones are heavily involved in financing businesses. Then the other non-banks are more on the personal banking space as opposed to businesses. Your first finance institution, those ones are more on the personal banking space. The list is endless, but since I was not prepared for this question, I could not organize the entire list. But if you really need that information, I can make it available and send it through the technology center here, and you can get that information. Yeah, I think I've addressed all of that round of questions, not unless there's another round. Yeah, we can take the second round.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Garcia. Very beautiful presentation. And there's a point I noted on succession plan. Not many people really talk about succession plan. I've heard a little bit about it. Some people would suggest a trust fund which is organized, and maybe I would like to ask you to maybe elaborate or suggest other possible succession plans for, say, a business where you are so entrepreneur or something. Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mazia, can you just advise on the area of markets? When you go to the bank and you're looking for finance, they always look at the issue of markets. And I know you are very comfortable with established markets. What can you advise on if one presents maybe the informal market? It is there, but how can you collaborate that and present it to the bank and perhaps might consider it?
Thank you, Mr. Mazia, for your presentation. And I have a question on credit worthiness. You mentioned its importance when obtaining funds. My question is, when they look at your credit worthiness, how far back do they go, the banks? And how can one improve that? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Mazia, for your colorful presentation. I have a question here in regards to one of the points you mentioned. Maybe it could have been that I was late. You mentioned something about business mentors. Is this to say before business maybe submits their business plan to financial institutions, they should identify a business mentor, or where do businesses stand when it comes to that issue? Thank you. Well, that was the last question, Mr. Wazir, and I guess the last round of questions.
Thank you. On succession plans, the reason why this one is so important is because of the experiences that we experience, or rather we encountered. When the founder, the co-founder of the business passes on, the people who are left behind have not been involved in the day-to-day running of the business, so they do not know what to do. They don't even know where you source your stock. They don't even know where you sell your produce. So now they literally need to start afresh, finding the way when the business is well established and stable. So now we are therefore saying it is upon us now, who are still alive, to correct that mistake. If you can look at our sister or brother business people from the Western, from Asia. When you enter their shop on a weekend, you are going to find a 3-year-old girl standing on top of a crate for soft drinks because she cannot reach the till and operating the till. 3-year-old. The young child knows on a weekend he or she has to assist in the business. And see how strategic the child has been positioned at a very critical point of the business where cash is received. So now what lessons is the child going to learn at that tender age? How to run business? How much do we make on a monthly basis from our business? She would also understand when school fees has to be paid because it comes from this business. The others are involved in the stocking area. They receive stock, they make orders, they know how much we spend, they know where we purchase our stock. So now instead of us, our own children at 3 years old, they are playing football at the soccer pitch. So all they are learning at that age is on weekends I must play. And at that age they develop other interests that are outside the family business. So now, by the time they are mature enough, or rather by the time we feel we are tired, we need their assistance, it is when we start calling them to come to our business. They no longer have that interest. They have developed other interests because we have allowed them to develop those interests at a tender age. So the first thing that they are going to do when they come to our business is look where the money is, so that they take it to spend to their areas of interest, not into our business. So that is where we lose it. So succession, that is where it should start. Let us start involving them at a tender age as early as possible, so that they know this is where my life is. They start developing the business skills at that age. By the time you die as the main project owner, they know what to do. Nobody's going to be telling them what to do. Everything will simply flow. So that is what we call succession. So that's the best succession plan we can do for our business. Then it is a firefighting remedy for us now if our children are already 16-year-old and they are not involved in our business, to then say, at least there, instead of being a sole trader, consider registering a company so that you have directors who are also going to be decision makers in the business, so that when you pass on, they are directors, the company still lives, the company doesn't die. So the company continues. What we can assist with as banks, we are going to come in to say, according to the company memorandum and articles of association, you are expected to do this, you are expected to do this, and what you are not doing is not within your company policies. So at least at that end, as a financer, we are also able to play some role to assist, guide the business towards success. But if it was simply a family business, a sole trader, it's a no-go area once the main director passes on. The family members, all they want to do is they fight, they quarrel, they want the benefits from the business, and that's the end of it. So by succession, the first advice is the most sustainable one, but the second one is a second option in the event we are already late to start thinking about succession. Now, if your market is informal, it is risky to you as a business person, it is risky to me as a financier. Why? Because firstly, during loan application stage, if we can take an example where somebody says he or she is doing a project proposal wanting to conduct a dairy project. Now, then you tell me, in my neighborhood, people walk 10 kilometers to the next grocery shop to buy milk. So there is no milk producer around, I'm the only one. So everyone is going to be buying from my business. So I won't be struggling with market. That is the informal market. Yes, it is true, community needs milk, and some are going to be buying from you. But now, how do you justify that in your cash flow projection? If in a cash flow projection, you must be able to project that I'll be selling so many liters per day. Totaling to so many liters on a monthly basis. And you must prove that these are the liters I'm going to sell. So now, from the informal market, how do you prove that your community is going to be buying 30 liters of milk a day? You can't prove that. So those are the problems with informal market. Secondly, there can also be an informal market where they may promise you, yes, we'll buy milk from you, yes, we'll stop going to the shop to buy milk because yours will be much cheaper and fresh. But there is no guarantee that every day 30 liters you'll be producing would be consumed. So sometimes we are going to come back to us and say, 20 of those liters got spoiled, people did not buy the milk. Because you must understand that cows, when they produce milk, they produce it every day. And it's 30 liters every day. So if I bought a liter of milk from you yesterday, am I going to buy it tomorrow for my own family? I can know. So then that is why the issue of formal markets comes in. Because when a formal market buys milk from you, they are not only going to be consuming them, they'll be selling to other people. So they are expanding the base, the buying power from you. So that is why we emphasize on that. Then thirdly, it is that a formal market should be a market that you rely on, that will be there on a sustainable basis. Informal market is not sustainable because they may buy today, but it's not guaranteed they'll buy tomorrow. So then it poses a risk to your business if it is informal. However, when I advise business people, I then say, yes, we don't have many markets, we don't have many formal markets around, but we can establish our own formal markets by developing the value chains. If we consider this dairy business, somebody can process the milk. We can have somebody who's going, or rather, the best way to make a formal market in dairy project is, if we are several farmers into dairy farming, because it is difficult to do value chain when you are on your own, or when you are by yourself in that particular industry. Let us group ourselves as dairy producers in the same locality. Then we buy a cooling tank that we are going to be feeding into on a daily basis. Then we arrange with a market uptown who's going to be collecting this milk from our cooling tank, which is going to store milk over a longer period. So by so doing, you are already establishing your own formal market in your informal natural setting. So we can have means to establish formal market by assessing the value chains in a way. Creditworthiness, Mr. Prince, must pay your debts. The credit law in Swaziland allows the credit bureau to keep credit information for 2 or 3 years. Some can remind me, 2 or 3 years. Yeah, 2 or 3 years, I'm not sure. So after 3 years, they then dispose that information. But that doesn't mean if you do not pay your debts after 3 years, you are scot-free. The person you were indebted to is allowed to, after the 3 years, go back and say, it means I still not paid. Let us start afresh and blacklist for the next 3 years again. So you can't get scot-free with not paying your debts with debts. Business mentors. Okay, this one is not a prerequisite for financing. I have alluded to that in my second slide. It is only a recommendation that if we want our businesses to be sustainable, let us have mentors and us as financiers, when we realize that your business is highly risky, we also assist you to link up with a mentor who's going to assist you, providing mentorship and then technical advice. But for your own good, it would be good to create that relationship with somebody who's going to be providing mentorship on an ongoing basis. Because all we are interested in is sustainability of the business so that it repays the bank's debt. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Mr. Mazia. I'm not going to be long, but please allow me to say that we do offer coaching and training on how to develop the business plans. What he has said kept, emphasizing that, in his speech kept emphasizing the need for a business plan. And with a business plan, you achieve a lot. One of the things you're able to achieve is the separation of personal finances from the business finances. Because the reason we end up in debt at times is because we do not separate our personal finances from the business. So we keep dipping into the business finances to, buy meal, to buy fuel, to buy this and that, and we find ourselves not being able to meet the obligations of the business and our personal ones as well. I must say that it is not an easy thing to develop a business plan. The plans we have will attest to that. They really don't like developing the business plan. But unfortunately, we force them to do this because we get into an agreement with them as early as admission stage. So we set it as one of the milestones, the need to develop a business plan. And unlike the consultant, we don't develop the business plan for you. We train you about all of the elements of the business plan, and we go with you step by step. It can take up to 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how committed you are to the process. We have seen that some people, work on the document. The first 2 days they're really excited, and then they disappear for a week or two. By the time they come back, they have to start all over again because you're dealing with the business terminology. Most of the time, which you have never been exposed to. But we do offer that kind of assistance, and because of the growing demand, even though the incubator is designed for innovative ICT businesses, we have decided, management of RSTP has decided that we are going to offer the training, the coaching and mentoring to any type of business. So currently we have people that are developing business plans that are in the agriculture sector. And one of the complaints we get is that I'm an IT person, I'm a farmer, I'm a scientist, I'm this and that. This thing is really difficult. Why can't I just outsource it? And we always say, please don't, because you will get into the pitfalls that the Mazia was alluding to. So we always say, develop this business plan, and it must be like a Bible. So I must say, just last week, one of the clients, I won't mention his name, but I know he won't be offended, came to me and said, I'm ready now to discuss my action plan. And I was like, okay. So does it mean you have been working on your business plan? And he said, no. So I said, okay, so where are the actions coming from now? So we had to go back to the business plan, spend time, develop, the preceding sections before you get to the action plan stage. And now all of them are developing the financials, which are the most difficult again, because there is so much, so many different types of accounts and, subsets of accounts. But they do this, they don't like it, but they do it because they realize the importance. And the major objective is so that they can develop businesses that can be bankable. Because if they don't have bankable businesses, they will end up staying here as informal businesses forever. And as a country, we want to benefit anything. So we encourage you, if you have a business idea, please stop thinking. One of our speakers said, thinking is a disease. stop thinking, start developing the business plan. It's the business plan that will tell you whether the business idea has potential or not. So thank you so much. We are seeing new faces here, and we're seeing some people that have become loyal attendees. Thank you to everyone. We've got refreshments at the back, and we've got running water at the corner there. So if you'd like to wash your hands, please do get into that small room there. Thank you very much, and we wish you a safe